Hello, I'm Annette Young and welcome to the 51%er show about the women who are reshaping our world. In this program, we're focusing on women at work. We head to Dubai to meet the women who are breaking stereotypes and moving into sectors long dominated by men. Also, why having more women in leadership positions is better for business. And microfinancing, where small loans can result in big returns. But first, we head to the United Arab Emirates, where women are shaking up the workforce by going for male-dominated jobs. Yet in their quest for work equality, they may be getting help from the government, but often have to convince their own families as well, as Katavan Gorjestani reports.
Creek Station, a brand new stop on the Dubai Metro, is where Mariam Al-Safar starts her day. She's not commuting, but checking that the train is good to go. She's the United Arab Emirates' first female metro driver.
I like to do the unusual job.
The young woman had to work hard to land her dream job, but she also had to overcome other obstacles.
It was a problem with my family. But now it's okay, yeah, I have spoken to them 100 times. And now they are very proud of me.
Mariam Al-Safar started working for the Dubai Metro in 2009, fresh out of university. She had a desk job at first, but quickly applied to become a driver.
When I stopped the train exactly on the stations, aligned with the station doors, so I have shouted, yeah, I have done it, and these things, you know. I was very excited.
In recent years, Emirati authorities have been promoting education and access to the workforce for women. The Jebel Ali port, one of the biggest commercial ports in the world, is a male-dominated work environment, but the head of strategy is a woman. Aisha Sultan is in charge of developing the port, and she believes Emirati women have come a long way.
In 1975, women made up just 3.4% of the workforce. Today, 50% of workers are women, and 30% of them are in executive positions.
Big companies are now even required to have at least a quarter of women on their boards. Unlike their neighbors in Saudi Arabia, Emirati women can also manage their own companies and drive to work on their own. The women are gaining ground in the workforce. They have yet to secure other personal freedoms, like living with a man outside of marriage or kissing in public.
And that report by Katavan Gorjestani. And watching that story with me here in the studio is Aviva Wittenberg-Cox, the CEO of 21st, one of the world's leading gender consulting firms. She's also the chair of the Global Professional Women's Network. Aviva, thanks for being with us. Now, we saw there in Dubai, in a very conservative society, women are starting to challenge stereotypes in the workplace. And as you yourself recently wrote, we are witnessing a historic and peaceful revolution, a rebalancing of the genders, as you put it. Yet, even here in the West, women are still significantly underrepresented at senior levels of leadership. But who's at fault? Is it the men or is it us women, that being?
Well, I like to think that the whole issue of fault is a little obsolete. I think it's time to move in from accusing one another, and very high time that we actually work together. I really don't think that men can blame women or women can blame men. I think we're at a place in history we need to understand a little bit better. I think everybody's actually trying quite hard, and there's still a lot of incomprehension. I think education would go a long way.
Yet 60% of the world's university graduates are women, and women control the majority of consumer buying decisions. So why are companies failing to recognise this?
I think the issue is what they thought was the problem was a pipeline issue. And so for the last 10 or 15 years, they've been recruiting more women quite successfully. So gender balance in most companies is achieved at intake level. And they thought that that would cause the whole thing to sort itself out naturally. And what we're discovering in the last few years is that that isn't enough. You actually have to adapt the culture and mindset and leadership styles inside organizations if you want a gender balance.
So which companies have got it right?
And
how have they got it right, more importantly?
Well, how they got it right is, in our mind, almost entirely a leadership issue. It's due to the CEO who wants to do it. Just like your story in the UAE, it's not just women who are pushing. It's the whole government and the management teams that are building gender balance. That's what the best companies do. They make it a very top-down push, not just asking women to somehow magically filter up.
Can you give us an anecdote of where that's worked successfully?
I think any company, actually, that I've ever seen gender balance, and we do an annual measure of the most gender-balanced executive teams of the top 300 companies in the world, if you look at something like Lockheed Martin, for example, which is a helicopter company that is balanced and run by a female CEO, it was or if you take a more recent example of General Motors with a very famous Mary Barra who became CEO, these women didn't emerge as CEOs on their own. It was actually, what's interesting to look is 2 CEOs before them began a corporate-wide initiative to recognize and develop gender balance. These women and all the women we start to see emerge at the very top of companies, it's because men and women have been pushing inside, usually for at least a decade before we see them.
Thanks for that, Aviva. We'll come back to you in a moment. But for many in the developing world, microfinancing has often been touted as a miracle cure for global poverty. These small loans are often made to people living in rural communities who normally don't qualify for traditional banking credit. But despite the concerns as to whether microfinancing on its own is capable of breaking the poverty cycle, there's no doubt that women in many places have benefited. Mark Thompson reports on one such scheme operating in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
In this small tin hut, Monique's dream is slowly becoming a reality. 7 years ago, she set up her own peanut butter company, working solely by hand. Then, she was granted a small €600 loan from the bank, which she paid back in less than a year. Now, Monique earns around €200 a month and isn't planning on stopping there.
That loan meant I can now afford to live very well with my family. I can pay my rent, pay for my children's education and their clothes. But I'm hoping to get a bigger loan, which will mean I can sell the product by the jar. That way I'll be able to supply big retailers, as they don't accept it in small bags.
The only downside, the interest rate. Monique's first loan was at 17%, but they can reach as high as 50%. Now, she and other female entrepreneurs in the Democratic Republic of Congo are fighting for it to be brought down. These women own their own small and medium-sized companies. They've enrolled on a business management course. That's largely thanks to Mama Flavie, who for 15 years has been helping women get ahead in business.
Obtaining a loan allows you to get the results you need, to go back and ask for more money for even bigger projects.
Mama Flavie's work has led to banks becoming more willing to lend microcredits to women without needing substantial guarantees. Instead, entrepreneurs have to prove their credit credentials by sustaining an account for 3 months, a deal paying dividends to all involved.
And that report by Mark Thompson. Aviva, we saw there the birth of an entrepreneur. But the biggest stumbling block for women accessing credit is the fact that a lot of them don't have collateral, be it in the developing world or here in the West.
And again, I think it's always the focus of so much of our efforts isn't so much at fixing women, it's about fixing the companies that aren't loaning to women who have, over these last few years with the microfinance experiment, been proven to be much more solvable than men, very much better at repaying their loans. So why aren't they getting the money? In the West, we see the issues with VCs and venture funding. Women only get 5% of that funding. Why? It's not because of the women and the lack of projects. It's because the people in these financial institutions haven't been quite educated to understand that different ways of running companies may also be successful.
So how do you really change those mindsets? How do you go about it?
I think it takes a lot of education and awareness building. I think large financial institutions in particular have over-focused their internal efforts on developing women and not at all enough on building and educating their own male managers. And all managers, male or female, need to understand that today women is actually a huge economic opportunity for business, and they need to build the skills to learn how to connect with this talent pool and with the customer base. Otherwise, they're wasting big opportunities.
I'm so sorry, we've run out of time. Thank you very much for being with us, Aviva Wittenberg-Cox. And that's it for now. If you'd like to comment on what you've just seen, please head to our Facebook page, France24/the51%, or do send us a tweet at _51%. Thanks for your feedback so far, and please keep those comments coming in. And until our next program, bye for now.